and welcome back to this European Schoolnet Academy course on games-based learning in schools. This is Module 2, and Module 2 is all about using games for thematic learning. In this module, we're going to take a deeper look at some ideas for thematic and project-based learning to help set a bit of a context for the case studies that we'll look at in the next two videos. Now, I'm sure as educators, we're already familiar with the theme thematic learning. Thematic learning when we try and take a theme and link it to as many different curricular areas as possible in order to enhance the learning experience. And of course, project-based learning. Project-based learning by definition is something which happens over a prolonged period of time and is normally active in nature rather than a one-off experience. And of course, thematic learning and project-based learning, they can be one and the same thing. The great thing about using computer games for thematic learning or project-based learning is they're a good way to help reluctant teachers get used to using games in the classroom. You see, it's possible to pick a number of different games that are available in high street shops and think about how they can be linked to the curriculum. Let's take the popular game Guitar Hero or Rock Band 4 for example. Now, to somebody that's not familiar with some of the terms within games-based learning, you might think, how on earth could this game be related to the curriculum? But for a teacher with a little bit of imagination, they can start to think about how this game could be used as a context for teaching music, or composing music, or learning about music history. They could start to use this game as a context for getting children to imagine what it's like if they go to a rock concert. What happens if they go on tour? How will they get there? How are they going to fly there? Where are they going to stay? So actually, very, very quickly, you can start to take this whole idea of music, in this case through the medium of the computer game Guitar Hero or Rock Band, and link it to lots of other areas of the curriculum. And of course, the great thing about this is that teachers have been doing projects about music for years and years and years, but young people will be engaged by the project because they think it's a little bit about the computer game. We sometimes call this a contextual hub. And the main difference between a thematic learning or a project-based learning approach and a contextual hub is that the gameplay links learning. So young people would be expected to play the game, and by playing the game, they would think the project was about gameplay, but it would also link to lots of other exciting areas of the curriculum. And this is really just about trying to get teachers to think differently. Why is it different if we use games in the classroom as a context for learning compared to books, or compared to music, or compared to film? Actually, it's exactly the same thing, but young people will be engaged by it because games at the moment are highly culturally relevant to children. And the great thing about it is these games don't even have to be made for education. In fact, I would argue that there's an awful lot of what we would call commercial off-the-shelf games, or COTS games, that are entirely appropriate for this type of activity. And the great thing about commercial off-the-shelf games is they've got often high production values, and it's just about using the imagination of the teacher to think about how might we link this to the curriculum in order to enhance learning. On the screen now, you can see a variety of games that I've seen being used in the classroom, and anything is possible as long as we've got a little bit of imagination. In the next two videos, I'm going to take you through two case study examples. One of the case study examples will be on using Mario and Sonic at the Olympics, a game that's been used in the classroom for a number of years now, and again, Olympic projects are not new to teachers, people have been doing them for years. And the second one that we're going to look at is how we might use Star Wars. Obviously we could use the game here, or we could also as well link it into the release of the new trilogy. And how can we use these games to enhance learning in our classroom? So something for you to think about. I've flashed a few different games up on the screen there. I've given you two different examples in the form of Star Wars and Mario and Sonic at the Olympics. Can you think of any games, any commercially available off-the-shelf games that you've seen in the supermarket or at a game shop or online that you think that you could potentially use in the classroom? And that's what I want you to do. I just want you to start thinking about that at the moment. As always, don't forget, there's a big debate online on the Facebook page, and if you're using Twitter, please use the hashtag GamesCourse. See you in the next video when we're going to be talking about Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games.